Today I want to speak into your life about a powerful choice you can make as you enter 2026. Focus on your silence. This does not mean you are silent because you lack a voice, but because you trust God to be your defender, your promoter, and your supporter. Some of the biggest breakthroughs do not come from talking more, explaining more, or reacting more. God needs you to focus on becoming who He created you to be instead of proving yourself to others. This removes pressure and speeds up your progress. You stop running someone else's race and start walking confidently in your own calling. God never asked you to compete with those around you. He asked you to be faithful with what He placed in your hands. The moment you stop comparing your life to someone else's best moments is the moment you get your joy back. Comparison wastes your energy and distracts you from the work God gave you. When Peter looked at John and asked Jesus what would happen to him, Jesus told him to follow Him and focus on his own walk. Stay in your lane. Your destiny is too important to be slowed down by someone else's journey. Focusing on yourself means you value growth more than approval. You realize that applause is loud but temporary, while character is quiet but lasts forever. Some people spend their whole lives chasing likes and recognition, yet feel empty inside. There is a powerful freedom that comes when you stop explaining yourself. Not everyone needs to know why you made a certain choice. Remind yourself that God knows and understands your heart even when others judge you. Silence becomes easier when you feel secure. You do not argue your worth when you know your value. You do not have to defend your calling when you trust the one who called you. As you focus on yourself, God begins fixing areas that were once ignored. He works on your attitude, your patience, your faith, and your discipline. These are quiet works that people may not see, but they are very important in heaven. Growth often happens away from the spotlight. Seeds grow underground before they break through the dirt. If you only focus on what people see, you will miss what God is building on the inside. He is more interested in who you are becoming than how fast you appear to be succeeding. When you stop worrying about what others might say or do, your mind becomes clear and peace replaces anxiety. You are no longer replaying conversations in your head or practicing responses you may never need. That mental energy is now available for creativity, vision, and faith. This is where your progress speeds up. When your thoughts match God's promises instead of people's opinions, you move forward with confidence. You make decisions from a place of calm, not pressure. Focusing on yourself also means taking responsibility for your own mindset. You cannot control how others act, but you can control how you respond. You decide which thoughts stay in your mind. When you focus inward, you realize that peace is a choice. You stop waiting for things to change before you decide to be happy. You choose joy right where you are, trusting that God is working even when you cannot see it. God never promised that everyone would understand you, but He promised to lead you. When you focus on Him, distractions lose their power. Criticism does not hurt as much, and delays do not discourage you as deeply. You understand that timing is part of the process. Sometimes God slows things down, not to punish you, but to prepare you. While others may rush ahead, you are being trained for something greater. Trusting that process brings rest to your soul. There will be moments when it feels like you are doing everything right, but no one is noticing. That is when focusing on yourself is essential. Remind yourself that faithfulness is never wasted. God keeps detailed records and sees every act of obedience and every time you chose to do the right thing, even when it was hard. People may forget, but God never does. At the right time, He knows how to bring rewards that are better than you imagined. By focusing on your own path, you make room for God's best. You stop rushing your process, and you stop feeling like you are behind. You understand that God's plan unfolds step by step. What looks like a delay may actually be God moving things out of the way and strengthening you for what is ahead. You learn to stay steady instead of anxious. You listen more than you speak, and you pray before you act. This is where wisdom develops. Wisdom does not come from winning arguments. It comes from understanding the seasons of life. When people misunderstand your silence, let them. You do not need to clarify everything. Over time, even those who doubted you will see that God's hand was guiding you. The more you align with your true identity, the less you try to be someone else. You are not shrinking to fit expectations or stretching to impress others. You are becoming comfortable with who God made you to be. This stability attracts the right opportunities and the right people. When you focus on your own growth, you find that life is better. You are not carrying the weight of expectations or trying to manage outcomes that belong to God. You do your part and trust Him with the rest. That is where freedom lives and where growth happens. When you are silent, you are telling God that you believe He is working even when you are still. You are declaring that you do not need to fight every battle or respond to every criticism. Many people exhaust themselves trying to protect their reputation. They worry about what others are saying and whether their side of the story is understood. That constant need to respond creates inner stress. But when you stay silent, you enter a state of rest. You stop trying to control things that only God can control. Silence becomes a shield that protects your peace. God is your defender. He sees the unfair treatment and the misunderstandings. When you take matters into your own hands, you might feel better for a moment, but you lose your peace. When you let God handle it, you gain strength. Silence requires faith. It takes courage to trust that God will speak for you in His own timing. There are seasons when God calls you to be quiet because He wants to help you grow. Silence teaches discipline and restraint. It trains your spirit to respond instead of just reacting emotionally. It takes spiritual strength to stay calm when emotions are high. That is evidence that God is working inside you. Jesus is the greatest example of powerful silence. When He was accused, He did not argue or defend Himself. He trusted His Father completely. That silence was not weakness. It was strength under control. In the same way, when you stay silent, you are not giving up your power. You are giving it to God and allowing Him to work behind the scenes. Silence also protects your future. Words spoken in anger or pride can damage relationships and delay blessings. Once words are said, they cannot be taken back. Silence gives you time to think clearly and respond wisely. Many conflicts solve themselves when you do not rush to speak. God often handles things while you are quiet. When you stay silent, you stop feeding negativity. Arguments need two people to survive. When you refuse to join in, the fire goes out. Over time, people lose interest when they do not get a reaction. God uses your silence to quiet your critics. He allows your character to speak louder than any defense you could make. Silence also helps you hear God's voice more clearly. In the quiet, He gives direction and reassurance. Many people struggle to hear God because their minds are filled with noise. Silence clears the clutter and creates space for wisdom. Staying silent does not mean you never speak up, but it means you choose the right moments. You do not waste words on battles that do not matter. This kind of silence is intentional and powerful. It shows confidence, not fear. There will be times when people misinterpret your silence and assume you have nothing to say. Let them think what they want. God knows the truth, and truth has a way of coming out eventually. You do not need to rush justice because God is never late. Silence teaches you patience. It reminds you that not everything happens instantly. When you stay quiet, you show trust in His timing. You notice a shift in your emotional health, and you become less stressed and less drained. You are no longer pulled into every emotional problem. That inner stability allows you to handle challenges with grace. You do not lose sleep over rumors. You rest knowing God is in control. Silence preserves your joy. Joy is fragile when it is exposed to constant conflict. When you argue and defend, your joy leaks away. Silence protects what God has given you. This is spiritual maturity. God often works more when you do less. He opens doors you didn't knock on and speaks to people for you without you knowing. Suddenly, situations turn around not because you argued better, but because God stepped in. Silence also keeps you humble. It reminds you that you do not have to be right all the time. Humility attracts God's grace, and grace does what hard work cannot. When you feel tempted to speak out of frustration, pause and remind yourself who is in control. God is not threatened by lies or limited by delays. As you practice staying silent, you will notice your prayers become deeper. Instead of talking to everyone else, you talk more to God. You give your frustrations to Him. That exchange strengthens your faith. Silence is also a form of obedience. Sometimes God asks you to wait and hold back. These quiet acts of obedience bring great rewards. You are no longer controlled by the need to be heard. You are anchored in the fact that God hears you. When you are silent, you allow God to write your story. You trust Him to bring the right chapters at the right time. As He works, you stand firm and confident, knowing that silence is one of your greatest strengths. You stop trying to control every detail. Your spirit becomes peaceful. You give God room to open doors that human effort could never unlock. Some breakthroughs do not come because you pushed harder. They come because you finally rested and trusted. Much of God's greatest work happens in the quiet. Immediate movement does not always mean progress. God often works best behind the scenes. When you stop talking about what you want and start trusting, things begin to change. This confidence allows you to encourage others. Silence also teaches you to let God fight battles you were never meant to fight. Some battles only drain your energy. God wants you to spend that energy becoming who He called you to be. Truth does not need your help to survive. Lies may make noise, but they do not last. There is a rest that comes from knowing you do not have to rush. Rushing comes from fear, the fear of missing out or being left behind. Faith removes the need to rush. When you trust God's timing, you move with confidence instead of panic. Silence protects your relationships and your reputation. God often saves us from our own mistakes by prompting us to remain still. Instead of letting frustration out, you let God heal you inwardly. That inner work produces lasting change. God is moved by how deep your faith is, not how loud it is. Deep faith waits and stays steady even when things are unstable. There will be moments when you feel tempted to explain your delay or your lack of visibility. Resist that urge. Not everyone needs to understand your process. God often hides what He is developing to protect it. As you stay quiet, God sharpens your spirit. You become more aware of His guidance. This wisdom is developed in stillness, not chaos. Silence keeps your heart in a place where grace can flow freely. You may notice that as you stay silent, people begin to treat you differently. There is a quiet strength that people respect. Your confidence comes from knowing who you are in God. When criticism comes, it does not crush you. When praise comes, it does not define you. You are steady because your identity is secure. Silence frees you from the burden of expectations. It prepares you for connections and breakthroughs that you didn't have to announce. These moments remind you that God is creative and faithful. There is peace in knowing you do not have to fix everything. You do not have to join every argument or correct every mistake. Focusing on yourself and staying silent frees you from anxiety and comparison. It fills you with clarity and trust. God honors those who trust Him enough to be still. Silence is not the absence of faith, it is faith at rest. And when faith rests, God works. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to force things before the right time. They push doors that are not open and fight battles that do not matter. Silence teaches you how to wait without worrying and how to move forward without getting ahead of God. He knows where you are going and what must happen to get you there. When you talk too much or move too quickly, you can get out of sync with His plan. Silence keeps you aligned. Destiny does not need an announcement. What God has started will happen. When you are silent, you give up the need for human approval and allow God to do more in your life. Some battles are won by patience and staying silent. When you stop defending yourself, God steps in as your protector. Silence gives you space to let your emotions settle, so God's guidance can be clearer. It strengthens your spiritual muscles and proves your faith does not depend on immediate answers. There are seasons when God keeps you hidden, not because you are overlooked, but because you are being prepared. While others are showing off, God is building your character. Silence keeps you from leaving that season before the work is finished. People may think you are weak, but heaven sees your strength. Some things solve themselves when you leave them in God's hands. Silence also saves your energy. Your energy is limited, and it matters where you spend it. When you stay silent, you save that strength for prayer and growth. As you focus on yourself, God shows you what needs to change. This inner work produces a real transformation. God uses silence to reposition you. He may be closing doors to move you closer to where you need to be. If you talk too much, you might resist these changes. Silence helps you stay flexible and trusting. Control is an illusion, but trust is real. When you let go of control, you gain peace. As time passes, you will notice God fighting for you in ways you could not have planned. Opportunities will appear without you chasing them. These moments prove that God never needed your arguments. He only needed your trust. Even when things go wrong, stay silent. Understand that setbacks are often setups for something better. If you can stay faithful when no one is clapping, God knows He can trust you with more. Silence helps you cut out noise so you can pay attention to what truly matters. People will notice a confidence in you that is not loud or needy, but secure. God honors that restraint and trust. Over time, you will see that silence did not cost you anything. It protected everything. It protected your peace, your calling, and your future. As you keep focusing on yourself and staying silent, you will walk with more peace and power than ever before. As you move forward in this new season, understand that choosing to be quiet is a sign of true maturity. It shows that you have outgrown the need to have the last word in every disagreement. When you no longer feel the urge to correct every person who perceives you wrongly, you gain a level of mental freedom that most people never experience. You are essentially telling the world that your peace is not for sale, and your joy is not dependent on their opinion. This inner quietness allows you to see doors opening that were once invisible because your mind was too busy defending its own ego. You start to notice small blessings and divine opportunities because you are finally looking in the right direction. This journey of self-focus and silence also transforms your relationships. When you stop reacting, you stop participating in cycles of drama that have held you back for years. You become a person of depth rather than a person of noise. People will begin to sense a weight and a significance in your presence because you only speak when it adds value. This is how you lead by example rather than by instruction. You are showing everyone around you that it is possible to be successful without being loud and to be powerful without being aggressive. By keeping your eyes on your own growth, you become a light that naturally attracts the right people, while the wrong ones simply fade away. Ultimately, this way of living creates a life that is built on a solid foundation. While others are building houses out of words and social media likes, you are building yours out of character and quiet consistency. When the storms of life come, those built on noise will be shaken, but you will remain standing because you are anchored in something deeper than the surface. You can rest well at night knowing that your life is in the hands of the Creator who sees everything and rewards those who trust Him. Continue to walk this path with a humble heart and a steady mind. You will find that the best version of yourself is waiting in the quiet moments where you finally stopped performing and started simply being who you were meant to be. In this final stretch of your journey, you must realize that your silence is actually a seed being planted for a future harvest. While it may feel like you are missing out or being forgotten, you are actually being insulated from the distractions that pull others off course. When you refuse to engage in petty arguments or explain your worth, you are saving your most valuable resources for your purpose. This self-control is what separates those who merely talk about greatness from those who actually achieve it. You are developing a steady spirit that can handle the weight of the blessings coming your way in 2026. Because you have learned to be still, you will not be shaken when the winds of change blow. Your decision to focus inward ensures that when you finally do reach your goals, you will have the character to stay there. Many people climb the ladder of success only to fall because they never worked on their inner foundation. By choosing this path of quiet growth, you are ensuring that your success is not a temporary flash, but a lasting legacy. You are teaching yourself that your internal world is more important than your external reputation. As you continue to walk in this quiet confidence, you will feel a new sense of authority in your life. You won't have to shout to be heard because your results will speak for themselves. Trust that every moment of silence and every bit of self-focus is moving you closer to the life God has prepared for you. As you embrace this lifestyle, you will find that your energy becomes a magnet for the very things you used to chase. There is a sacred efficiency in silence that makes your efforts go further with less strain. You no longer have to force connections or beg for a seat at tables where you aren't valued. Because you have committed to your own healing and growth, you carry a sense of self-respect that others can feel without you saying a single word. This shift changes the atmosphere around you. It clears the path for divine surprises and sudden breakthroughs that only come to those who have mastered the art of waiting. You are learning that being still is not the same as being stuck. It is a calculated move of faith that positions you for a level of favor that noise could never produce. This internal work eventually becomes an external testimony that inspires everyone who sees you. They will wonder how you stay so calm in the middle of chaos and how you remain so focused when others are distracted. Your life becomes the proof that God is a restorer and a provider. By choosing to let go of the need to be understood by the world, you gain the clarity to be fully understood by your Creator. This is the ultimate victory. You are walking into a future where your peace is permanent and your progress is undeniable. Keep your heart focused on the vision and your spirit settled in the quiet. You are not just moving toward a better year, you are becoming a better person, fully equipped to walk in the fullness of everything that has been promised to you. Choosing this path means you are finally giving up the heavy burden of trying to be your own savior. You are realizing that your human effort has a limit, but God's power has none. When you stop trying to manage every opinion and fix every mistake, you open up a space for the supernatural to take over. This is where you experience a rest that goes beyond understanding. You can face a new week without the exhaustion of having to prove yourself to people who were never meant to walk with you anyway. Your silence becomes your sanctuary, a place where you are recharged and reminded that you are already enough. You are no longer a slave to the hustle of seeking validation because you are already validated by the one who created the stars. As you step into the rest of 2026, let this be your new standard of living. When challenges arise, let your first response be a quiet breath of trust rather than a loud shout of defense. Watch how the people who used to drain you suddenly lose their power over your emotions. Observe how the doors that used to be locked begin to swing open simply because you approach them with peace instead of panic. You are entering a season of high-level alignment where your internal quietness matches the external flow of God's timing. You are becoming a person of great influence, not because you spoke the loudest, but because you lived the truest. This is your time to shine from the inside out, moving forward with a heart that is settled, a mind that is clear, and a soul that is completely at liberty.